Welcome to another episode of Montana Shares. And today we have Montana Free Press. We have both John and Kristin. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
So you're a new member group to Montana Shares, and that probably means I have to admit a certain amount of ignorance for the depth of what you guys do. So let's get a really good idea of what Montana Free Press does, and then if there's any significant changes due to COVID-19. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so Montana Free Press is a nonprofit digital-first newsroom. And so what that means is we produce our news, but we fund it in a different way than the traditional newspapers. We are reader-supported. We're supported by foundations. We're supported by individuals. We're supported by people who go to our website, montanafreepress.org, and sign up for our emails and get our news delivered to them on a daily or weekly basis. And we're a multi-platform news organization. We publish online at our website. We also publish, like I said, a daily and weekly newsletter. But then we also work in collaboration with newspapers and online news organizations and radio to produce news across multiple platforms. So newspapers all over the state are welcome to pick up our stories and run them in their local newspapers under the Montana Free Press byline. And we've had more than 60 news organizations throughout the state over the year that have used our news stories, and we're really grateful for that. And the work that we do is supported, as I said, by individuals and institutions. And we also collaborate. So we're working right now, for instance, on a 3-way collaboration with Montana Public Radio and Missoula and Yellowstone Public Radio and Billings to produce a really in-depth look. It's a podcast. It's called Shared State. And what it's going to do is look at the elections, it's going to look at the 2020 elections through a little bit different lens, through the eyes of Montanans and the perception of what are Montana values. And so we're really excited about that as well. So first and foremost, we're government and political reporters, watchdog reporters who are keeping an eye on what's going on at the state capitol and sharing that reporting throughout the state through our various media partnerships. But we're also really excited about various collaborations that we're working on with other nonprofit media.
Okay.
And we have been affected by the pandemic, but in ways that you might not expect. What really happened come March was that our organization, which was already in a period of growth, suddenly found itself in a position of having to kind of shift gears. Everything that we did in terms of presenting the news, we were now focused singularly on what was unraveling as the biggest news story, perhaps of our lifetime. And trying to make it easier for people to understand here in Montana what's really going on with this pandemic. And that's everything from, breaking down the numbers and helping people really understand what these numbers mean, the exponential growth of the pandemic, the testing numbers, county level health data, that sort of thing. So really getting into the nitty gritty and explaining that. And so we deployed freelancers all over the state to cover the COVID pandemic from their communities. And so the immediate impact on Montana Free Press is we were suddenly expending resources on gathering and producing and publishing news at a rate that we never imagined. And so it was a lot of long days, a lot of long nights, a lot of long weeks as we were hunkered down at home, trying to figure out how to report on this pandemic. And fortunately, Kristin arrived just in time to help us sort of, really engage in a self-assessment of our organization and how this pandemic was impacting us, both from an editorial standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. And Kristin, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that point at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit one of the major points, which is that, the way that we did our work changed dramatically. So the amount of news stories that were published each week went up dramatically, and readers really appreciated that. And so we've had a lot of support. But the ways that we normally reach out to readers and fundraise, for example, really changed, right? We're not going to do those sorts of things in person. We don't have, events like we had planned for the spring and the summer and the fall. And so we've moved into, other ways of reaching out to find, new members, new supporters, new readers, and have enjoyed some creativity on that front as well. I'll just give a little plug for our one of our products, which is the Lifting Voices series. So we decided that we really wanted to give voice to different groups that didn't normally have a platform to talk about their issues on. And so we moved what would have been an in-person event virtually and have been holding these conversations with different experts in different subject areas to cover issues that matter to Montanans that relate to COVID-19. So we've talked about the census, we've talked about hunger in Montana, and we have a parenting and childcare session planned, which will go live by the time this session airs. So it'll be, all of that lives on our website and is able for people to either participate in or watch in the past.
Okay, so I'm going to interrupt and say, everyone wants to know your website right now because this is really interesting stuff, and I'm ready to go. So what is your website?
Sure, it's montanafreepress.org, all spelled out. Or if you're looking for the short version, mtfp.org, it'll get you there too.
Okay, well, that's like I say, it's fascinating to me. It's the type of interesting news that I do care about. So I appreciate the work that you're doing on that. Anything else you want to add to sort of this foundational stuff that you're doing?
Well, I think I would just add that, Montana Free Press, it's not a secret that the news industry, the traditional newspaper industry, has been really hard hit in recent years. We've seen newspapers shrink. We've seen newspapers close. We've seen the newspaper that I first started working for many years ago, the Missoula Independent, is no longer in existence. And that's in part because the business of news has really changed, and the models that traditional newspapers used to fund their news gathering operations just aren't working anymore in a modern digital environment. And so what really gives us an advantage is that we're an innovative, digital first, nonprofit news model. So we're delivering the same kind of news that you used to find in the pages of your local newspaper on a statewide level, but we're doing it in new and novel ways and not relying on the same kind of revenue stream. So that diverse revenue model that isn't relying on advertising gives not only readers a better experience when they come to our website. You're not bombarded by ads. You're not being distracted by all these like flashing banners and that sort of thing. So it's a really good user experience, but it's also really high quality news, the kind of news that you really can't find anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, great. I've already found out so much that makes me want to just actually bring up your website immediately and look at this information and coverage. Want to thank you guys for being on the show today, and we'll speak again in the future about some of these other things that you're working on. So thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you, Bill.
You bet. Have a great day.